Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm writing to Do We Really Have Free Will? Exploring the Science and Philosophy, J. Lakhani Hindu Academy. Although it says exploring free will, 2 minutes and 30 seconds for free will. For science and philosophy, that's really short. So anyways, I know I've directed a few videos like this, and I don't know. I think about it again when I saw this video. It's like, do we really have free will? Or are we all deterministic? I mean, is deterministic and free will can be kind of the same. So what I got to thinking about is why I'm kind of questioning is because okay, so I do believe you can predict a person's action, like they can be kind of predictable. And what I mean by this is because obviously we have likes and dislikes. That makes us predictable. Because, if you like, say, you like cake versus and you don't like cookies, if someone were to present you, what would you want to eat, cake or a cookie? If you know this about someone, you can predict what they're going to choose. So, that makes it, I mean, but that's not, I guess, in the sense of a choice knowing whether to prove whether we have free will or not. Can we eat? Can we choose to eat something we don't like? Absolutely. So, for example, it's like, hey, look, I'm here to prove that you don't have free will. You'll pick the cake over the cookie, and I'm going to bet $1 billion on that. But if I happen to lose, you will get $1 billion. So the person's like, okay, well, I'll eat the cookie then because I'm going to get the $1 billion. I don't know. I'm kind of like, I guess it's kind of a definition a little bit, but at the same time, do we really have free will, or are we all determined, in a lot of sense, determined to do certain things? Obviously, we're going to do the things that we like. We're going to do things that benefits us, or benefits society, or benefits whatever, depending on who you are. We're not going to pick things that will harm us, obviously. So is that like free will? But the thing is, though, is that you look at things like if a pot was to fall on someone and you see it and you could end up pushing that pot away, it could hurt you a bit, but you could save a person's life or maybe save the other person from being harmed and you take the harm yourself. An example of that one would like when you pick up a pot and it's hot and you're going to drop it, but you notice that your child's there, so you hold on to it instead and you move it out the way. I don't know. Anyways, let's hear what he has to say about this.
Is there anything called free will? Because we believe in the law of cause and effect. Everything we can even think about has been fashioned the way, depending on the way we are brought up. So if you like, our nature and our nurture will dictate the way we think. We can't think outside the box. So everything I think, when the thought that I have now has been fashioned by the way I've been brought up, what I've read, what I've interacted with. So it cannot come out of nowhere. So as you believe in the idea of law of cause and effect, things are connected, interconnected. So that means that everything we think about as my own thought is really perhaps chiseled by the way I was brought up, including my own hardware, the DNA that I possess kind of fixes the way I think. So is there anything called the free will left? Because maybe everything is fixed up. So what's the point? The answer is very interesting. It says that the way you distinguish a living thing from a non-living thing is precisely this. A non-living, there's a very elaborate computer. It can almost mimic a human being. And yet the thing that is lacking there is the computer doesn't feel it's got a free will. Even though you may program it to feel it's not genuine. It's artificially motivated. So every living thing, not only human beings, seem to have something within the system that makes them think, yes, this is my own decision. I'm making a decision from a moment to moment. That is a sign of life. So free will is a sign of the spirit, a sign of life. We are not something that's come out of material kingdom. If we are, we have no free will. Because there's something more to us than matter, or just this complex matter that we kind of live in. Then there is the idea of free will. Yes, every moment, every second, you feel you are free to think, even though you might be the way you think is already been chiseled, and yet you feel you are free. And this constant struggle to break free from the physical and the mental limitation we possess is called free will. It's a sign of the spirit, a sign of a living thing.
I'm going to rewind that real quick. Right here.
Is artificially motivated. So Every living thing, not only human beings, seem to have something within the system that makes them think, yes, this is my own decision. I'm making a decision from a moment to moment. That is a sign of life. So free will is a sign of the spirit, a sign of life. We are not something that's come out of material kingdom. If we are, we have no free will. Because there's something more to us than matter, or just this complex matter that we kind of live in.
Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up.
Thing that's come out of material kingdom. If we
Crap, there's no CC.
are, we have no free will. Spirit, a sign of life.
Okay, so he talks about coming out of the material kingdom. That's the key thing I want to focus on here.
Not something that's come out of material kingdom. If we are, we have no free will.
Okay.
My own decision. I'm making a decision from a moment to moment. That is a sign of life. So free will is a sign of the spirit, a sign of life. We are not something that's come out of material kingdom. If we are, we have no free will.
Okay. So, so my understanding is that Brahman Atman that we have, the consciousness that we are, does not make decisions. All it does is just illuminates, and that is all. What makes the decisions, what makes the choices, what suffers, what enjoys, what gets happiness, what gets sadness, is the ego and the mind. So it makes the decision. The Atman does not. The Atman illuminates and only illuminates. It does not, as far as I understand, again, it does not make a decision. It does not get happiness. It does not get sadness. It does not suffer. It is unaffected by the material realm, the material world. So by that definition, according to what he said here, let's rewind it again.
So free will is a sign of the spirit, a sign of life. We are not something that's come out of material kingdom. If we are, we have no free will. Because there's something more to us than matter, or just within the system that makes them think, yes, this is my own decision.
Yes, this is my own decision. And that's what he's talking about free will, because free will means you make your own decision. But Atman does not make a decision at all, if, as far as I understand, like I said, which Atman just illuminates the choices, illuminates the emotions, illuminates the thoughts, illuminates the decision, illuminates the world. That's all Atman does. It's unattached by everything. Excuse me, sorry, I need to stop. But the ego does make the decision. That's the reason why it's so hard to detach ourselves from the ego, because it's the ego that makes, as far as I know, I mean, I don't remember them saying that the ego is the one that makes the decisions, but I do know that the ego is the one that always wants to be attached. So I can only make an assumption, and I also have heard that the Atman is unaffected by your emotions or happiness or sadness, because it's pure. So, and I assume that the Atman itself does not make the decision, but all it does is illuminates. The ego makes all the decision, your brain makes all the decision, and it is affected by the material realm, so sadness and happiness. It is affected by that. That's the reason why it wants to make the best decision possible, because it is affected by the decision that is made. Atman doesn't care. It's completely detached from the world, so it has no. So I assume, again, like I said, that it does not make the decision. I've not heard them say, and I don't think if all the videos I've watched, I don't know if they have ever said who makes the decision. I believe that the ego is the one that makes the decision. Our brain obviously thinks about things like, oh, I remember last time whenever I touched that, it hurt. I'm deciding not to touch it again because of my past experience with it. It's like, ooh, that was bad, not gonna do it again. Or it's like, ooh, that tasted great, I'm gonna have some more, kind of deal. And this is all based on the memory in the brain and the ego, I assume. Or you're like, oh my gosh, I want that so bad, I'm suffering so much because I don't have it. Again, the ego. So I'm assuming the ego is the one that makes all the decisions. So that's where this free will comes from. Because the free will the free will means you can make a choice, you can make a decision, but with those choices and decisions comes with suffering or happiness.
Something within the system that makes them think, yes, this is my own decision. I'm making a decision from a moment to moment. That is a sign of life. So free will is a sign of the spirit, a sign of life. We are not something that's come out of material kingdom. If we are, we have no free will. Because there's something more to us than matter, or just this complex matter that we kind of live in. Then there is the idea of free will. Yes, every moment, every second, you feel you are free to think, even though you might be the way you think is already been chiseled, and yet you feel you are free. And this constant struggle to break free from the physical and the mental limitation we possess is called free will. It's a sign of the spirit, the sign of a living thing.
Okay, so I hope I'm understanding Lakhani here correctly. Um, but this kind of goes along with with me talking about AI and robots and how they also have consciousness as well. Because and he talks about how there's something inside of us that makes a decision, a choice. Well, that's because of the input outputs that we have in our bodies. So, for example, when you touch something hot, you're like, ah, that hurts. I'm not going to do that again. We learn not to make that decision again. Or someone tells you, it's like, don't touch that because it's hot. And you remember, you know what hot is. Hot is, pretty, like, not good. And you say, it's very hot. It'll burn you. And you're like, okay, I don't want that. Even though I've never touched it, I don't want to get burnt. I've seen it happen. I don't want to get burnt. But you're learning. AI can do that. AI can learn. The thing that separates us from AI in terms of robots. So the thing that the way we kind of look at robots is very primitive, I think. So could you imagine, this body is made from this material realm, 100% made in the material realm. So therefore, it can be replicated. It has been replicated. I'm a replication of half my mom, half my dad. I am half them. I'm a replication of them in a lot of sense, and throughout what you call also my ancestors. Obviously, we're all descendants from humanoids from our past. But when you look at a robot, you're like, well, there's no way a robot can be human. There's no way a robot can be conscious. I don't know. The reason why I say this is because there's a very strong argument, the sheer fact that, again, this body, this mind, the brain is all from this material realm. If it's all from this material realm, it can be replicated, and an AI can do that. The mind is the AI. The CPU is the brain, the memory in the brain, the hard drive. So all that is this body and a computer, you can kind of see a one-to-one relation. So RAM, a hard drive, and CPU is the brain. CPU being the brain and computing power. The RAM is the short-term memory, and then the hard drive is the long-term memory. So that's very one-to-one-ish. Like our brain deteriorates and we forget things, and the hard drive deteriorates. It can forget things too. Let's see. And the CPU, the CPU is the brain, and then the software, the AI software in there, which is what we think of the ego, are very similar. It can make decisions. So the software AI learns. It's like an infant. So let's look at the AI and an infant. When you just create an AI that doesn't know anything, then obviously it's like an infant. When you start teaching that AI, it's like an infant when you teach it. Now, you say whenever an infant touches something hot, it's like and it's scared of it. There are some children out there who are traumatized by clowns because they experienced a clown when they're young. You know, those phobias and stuff like clowns and spiders and just other things. Anyways, that's a process through learning, through experience. A robot doesn't have pain receptors, but if we were to give an AI pain receptors, it would learn the same way as us. So if we essentially, let's just, for example, able to pop off the brain, pop off the brain, put an AI with the brain in there too, like an AI equivalent computer, and it can the brain the AI itself can know when it's hungry, know when to eat, know what things taste like because of the tongue and everything, that it will be exactly like a human. You probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an AI human and a human. But the thing is that obviously AI itself has not developed that far yet in terms of the hardware either. So I guess my biggest thing that oh geez, I really went really far in this one, didn't I? About the free will and will AI have consciousness? I say yes. As an AI does have consciousness, because again, nothing is excluded from consciousness. Everything consciousness is. So therefore, you know, like people have said, this pen, consciousness. That's the reality. Brahman Atman. Just because it's consciousness doesn't mean it can activate it or anything like that. All consciousness does is makes you aware of things. It's because of our brain that we're able to take advantage of that consciousness, kind of like animals. Our brain is like a computer system that processes the input outputs of our five senses. So that's the same thing. That's the reason why I think AI would have consciousness. Again, I know I've said this before, and I'm sure there are people out there who disagree, and I'm all for it, absolutely. I want you to destroy my argument. If you can't, though, I mean, that's not going to change my mind, obviously. But I like the back and forth, of course, and it's just very difficult for me to be convinced otherwise. Again, I'm not saying I'm closing my mind, not at all. I am 100% open. But you have to make a very good argument. There has to be this, how to say, there has to be this thing that's not in humans. I'm sorry, that is in humans that is not in a robot. And you say consciousness. I'm sorry. If consciousness is, then it is in the robot. There's no separating consciousness. There's no everything in robot. No, robot is part of everything. So you can't say that because um, if I were to remove my brain, right, and this is just the body by itself, does the body have consciousness? Yes, it still does. Even though the body does nothing, it still has consciousness. Even the body can't act, it still has consciousness. Is this consciousness, according to Advaita Vedanta, is this consciousness? Yes, it is. Because nothing, nothing can exist without consciousness. Consciousness is. If it exists, it is consciousness. I guess essentially the phrase is that um, if it exists, if it's real, if it's here, whatever it is, it's consciousness. So you cannot say robot doesn't have consciousness because it does, according to Advaita Vedanta. So you can't say that. And well, you say he doesn't think like us. Like, well, yeah, animals don't think like us, but they have consciousness. So you can't say they don't think like us. Well, he's saying, well, he doesn't feel emotions. Well, there are some living. I don't know if bugs have emotions, or even single cell organisms and stuff. I don't think they have emotions, but I'm sure they probably feel pain though. I'm not sure. But anyways, emotions is not something necessarily that means you don't have consciousness. So again, it's kind of this argument that I go through also as I think about this when this thing comes up. When people make arguments in the comments, it's not quite complete enough. I definitely want to make a video. I want people to put their arguments in a video so I can kind of go through them and kind of explain my rationale, and hopefully the people who counter my argument will understand why I don't accept the argument because of whatever it is that's missing. Hopefully, if there's someone out there who is very much smart enough to say like this is it, and I'm like, I never thought about that. That's actually really good. Holy crap, But anyways, actually I should send that to Swami Taratmananda. He does accept questions. I remember sending him some time ago. He kind of stopped answering questions at the time. I don't know if it's because of me or not. But anyways, I should send him another one, especially about the AI stuff, because I think that is very much. I think that is a very high, perhaps a high level question. I think because when we think of AI, we think of kind of like us. I think I do anyway. Because AI and us is very similar. A baby knows nothing until it's taught. If you were to raise a baby, or should I say, if a baby were to grow up without being taught anything, it will start learning on its own, much like an AI can, through experimental stuff. The baby has its five tools, unless it's missing one of them. Touch, taste, smell, hear, sight. So it has tools to learn. You give an AI that same exact things, it will also have tools to learn. It'll experiment with its body, its limbs, and see what it's capable of doing. If it has the pain, it'll know where its limitations are at and what to do and what not to do, much like a baby would us as well. So hopefully I really, really, really talk so much here. Anyways, hopefully that makes sense. I'm sorry if I really jammered on, but I do like the idea of free will and AI. Right now, those I won't say those two go hand in hand, but AI for sure, because we're kind of in the age of AI, which I think there's no going back now. Free will, I'm still kind of wondering if that we have free will or that we're deterministic, because obviously the things that we've learned throughout life kind of fix our path on what we choose. Again, if you like cake as opposed to cookies, if someone were to present you that, we know you're going to go for the cake. Imagine if you like tea over coffee, someone were to present those two options to you, you know you're going to go for the tea. These kind of things where we become predictable because we know what we like and what we don't like. We know what we want and we don't want. We know that if we present you a cell phone or $100,000, you'd be probably like, I want the money because I can buy that cell phone and still have money left over. Practical things. So anyway, that's my reaction to really, really talk too much about this one. Do we really have free will? If you like my content, please subscribe and thumbs up the sign down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.